Let's talk about the economy now. I will be looking at it from the automotive perspective. How do we catch up? Because we are playing catch up right now. The Chinas of this world, they are really ramping up efforts in looking at alternative forms of transportation like the electric vehicle. Let's speak tonight with an entrepreneur from the entrepreneur's perspective in Nigeria's economy, trade and commerce and investment in this country. I'm being joined tonight from our Lagos studio by the CEO of SAGLEV EV, Mr. Gbenga Faleye. Thank you so much, Mr. Faleye, for joining us tonight on the program.
Thank you, Sheon, for having me.
Being an entrepreneur in Nigeria and the ease of doing business, and in fact, the intentions on the capacity to want to invest in Nigeria, there are a lot of people who say sometimes it takes a strong-hearted person to want to think about investing in Nigeria. What is your experience as an entrepreneur in the manufacturing sector to say you want to take the bull by the horn and invest in this? How has the experience been for you?
Well, the experience has been enlightening, has been challenging, but it's obviously not impossible. So if it's impossible, then we will not be able to do it. So the ease of doing business can be tough, but you know, in business, there's also the saying, high risk, high reward. So that is still valid, but as an entrepreneur in Nigeria, you have to be strong, you have to be tough. You cannot you cannot be pessimistic, and you can either choose to look at all the wrong or focus on the problems and ignore the solutions. In our own case, we just decide that we want to focus on the solutions, and that is how it has worked out for us. The problems are there, but the solutions are there. So if you focus on the problems, you'll be discouraged. It's a tough environment, and post-COVID, the economy has been in trouble. But again, everybody knows that Nigeria's economy is not going to remain poor forever. And I make the argument that there are positive signs in the economy. It's just a little bit longer before people start feeling it.
There are specific targets of this government in respect to economy and investment, and especially because of the need to now diversify and look at options alternative to fossil fuels. First and foremost, what gave you the thinking? What did you saw? What are the figures? What are the indices that made you to take the move in wanting to invest in the manufacturing of vehicles in Nigeria?
Well, the truth is that, think about it, 220 million people in one of the fastest growing middle class in the world. It's only a matter of time. Somebody has to provide services for these 220 million people. It's just that simple. But more specifically, these 220 million people need food, they need clothing, but the other thing they need is they need to move around. And transportation is the lifeblood of any economy. So those facts remain, and when you go further, you realize that the situation we have found ourselves in Nigeria is such that transportation was not the true cost of transportation. What I mean is that when in Ghana you are paying 1,200 naira a liter, and in Nigeria you are paying 118 naira a liter. But it is due to the fact that the government is subsidizing that transportation in terms of the cost of petrol. You know, it's like we are becoming magicians, and we know that we are not magicians. So as a result, definitely we had to look at better options. clearly, people understand that that was not being put to the best use in terms of the fuel subsidy. So in realizing that, it was clear to me, being in the United States and being in business, being also a physician, it was clear that some things were not adding up. And when we dove down into looking into that, we realized that the best way to compete with the cost transportation was electricity and other alternative source. The truth is that the cost of power can drastically be reduced in the order of 80% using electric mobility. And if you just listen around the world, forget about what is happening in Nigeria, you realize that, most countries are already telling you by 2030, you're not going to be able to register an internal combustion car in their country. So it was obvious where the future was going. And unless Nigeria wants to pack its load and say we are not part of the world, clearly we are part of the future. And so it just added up for us that this is what was going to happen. It also meant that we had to roll up our sleeves and work. I've been in the country actively working, researching for 5 years. It took us 3 whole years to build an assembly plant that we thought we would build in 8 months. So the challenges are there, but those are the things we put 2 and 2 together and said, we got to go do this. So, and don't forget, yes.
Mr. Afolaye, you're one of the few companies who have now been able to swim through the sea of investing in Nigeria in the manufacturing industry. And perhaps I was very interested in knowing what you have gone through and perhaps what the experience has been like, and especially talking about electric vehicles, because I know China is big on that. And you see what Elon Musk is facing in the hands of Donald Trump. But if there is one thing that this government needs to fix in terms of ease of doing business, what would that be?
In terms of ease of doing business, it's just to make the policy clear and well known. I think the policies are there, but businessmen in Nigeria don't even understand what the policy is. So when you're coming from abroad, you can find yourself just lost in the sea. And then, in Nigeria, we need to focus on we talk about improving the ease of doing business, but you sometimes find yourself in a situation where you are filling forms, the bureaucracy is just killing business. So a lot of times you really can be frustrated by that. And I think that is just making the policy clear. And, Nigeria has gone through a very tough economic time. So for us, that is the main thing to me, is making the policy clear and making it as simple. I'll give you one quick example. In Cote d'Ivoire, we have been talking to them about assembling, because our platform is the entire subcontinent of Africa. It takes 1 week to get registered to do business. In Nigeria, it's not the case. And we are just needlessly suffering and not meeting up with business goals by doing this. On another hand, if you look at a simple situation of what does it take to finance a business, we are just lucky that we were able to self-finance and get to this point before we even talk about using debt. So if you found somebody that was raising funds, they would just not be able to do what we've been able to do. So again, ease of doing business and just making business really easy, make it easy for you to get to the financiers, make it easy. So those are the main things I would hone on. Also, working with just importing through our ports. If you ask anybody, our ports are the hardest ports to import anything through in either direction. Either you're importing or exporting, and that's just killing business. When you have product that is just sitting in the port that should be in the market producing, economic returns for us, for our employers, but that product is sitting in the port, stuck in the port, and then you as the employer, the most useless amount of money you spend is demurrage. It just does nothing for you. So, you know, those are the main challenges that we have faced.
Let's tell you that 151 senior police officers are now facing different disciplinary committee matters as we speak. And the fourth disciplinary committee says it's an essential internal structure responsible for reviewing and adjudicating cases of alleged breaches of professional conduct, misconduct, and ethical violations involving senior officers of the rank of Assistant Superintendent of Police and above. The Inspector General of Police, Kade Egbejokun, has reaffirmed his administration's dedication to discipline and ethical conduct within the force, and emphasizing that Nigerian police force will not condone any form of indiscipline or misconduct. And these senior officers are currently facing this disciplinary committee on various pending disciplinary matters. Let's get back to Mr. Faleye, who is the CEO of SAGLEV EV. Mr. Faleye, why do we need an electric vehicle? There are those who will say, we don't even have electricity.
So, excellent. Sean, that is a very excellent common question that we get. The truth is that I want to look at this from the electric vehicle itself, from the ecosystem, and nationally. So the electric vehicle itself is just the easiest way to cut your cost of power by 80% plus. If you are a ride-hailing driver, it's going to cost you 80% less or 20% of what it has been costing you to move your car. Now, let's go further in that particular piece of equipment. Electric vehicles, you don't do an oil change. You don't go in for service as frequently, and every electric vehicle is likely to save you 50 to 60% on your cost of maintenance. And let me make the data more stark. If you buy an electric vehicle for 30 million naira, or you buy a Tokunbo car for 15 million, by the 15th month, you would have spent the same amount of money, but you are still in a worse situation if you are driving that ice because you are underwater. You still have to deal with all the problems from ice. So those are some of the things with the actual electric vehicle. Let's talk about the ecosystem. It turns out that electric vehicles are very good for the economy. I don't always want to talk about the electric vehicle. I always want to talk about the ecosystem. That ecosystem includes charging, includes people who are going to install chargers, includes electric vehicle technicians, which means you're going to be talking about technology transfer. Now, if you remember, Pan and Volkswagen Automotive, part of why they died was that the component manufacturers they brought in died. So they died. The electric vehicle industry is a way to bring in component manufacturing back. The only way this can happen is to manufacture. We are really not gaining from the 700,000 cars that Nigeria needs a year. And if we say, well, we want even 10% of those to be electric vehicles, then we're only talking about 70,000. We are way below. That is opportunity for us to boost the economy. And, you know, it just turns out that the electric vehicle ecosystem tends to bring other people along. When I look at this, I think about jobs.
Yeah, Mr. Faleye, I'd like us to anchor quickly on this note, because this government has come out to say they're creating the presidential CNG initiative. There's between 300 to 500,000 vehicles, both new and old vehicles, that are being imported to Nigeria yearly. Out of that, about 80% of that are used vehicles. And the government says the alternative to petrol vehicle would have had a 2 billion naira reduced in petrol subsidies annually using alternatives like the electric vehicle. But the question here, for the average person watching, is the affordability of electric vehicle. And I'd like us to anchor on that note. Affordability, Mr. Faleye.
Yes, actually, interestingly, I'm not here to really market. So, But I want people to look around Nigeria today and ask people to publish their prices. The government, you know, I don't want to criticize the government because one has to be appreciative of the challenges that they have. Nigeria produces a lot of CNG or natural gas, so they want to use the gas. But at the same time, they have to understand the challenges involved in utilizing CNG distribution. So all I would say is that electric vehicles are shockingly more affordable than you think. The problem is you're paying more of it upfront. The results start coming within the first year and thereafter. So electric vehicles are affordable. I can assure you that we have electric vehicles that are more affordable, cheaper than most Tokunbo used ICE vehicles that are imported into the country. Yeah, so they are affordable. I just encourage your viewers to go around and ask for the pricing.
All right. Thank you so much. Samuel Benga-Faleye is the CEO of SAGLEV EV. Thank you so much indeed for some of the exciting stories of investment in Nigeria. Thank you so much indeed for your time tonight.
Thank you so much, Sean. Thanks for having me.